and we are going to jump in today's topic, which is idea to exit. All right. So you guys have been with me on this journey through 3 days, culminating in today's day 4, right? We talked on day 1 about building killer product and what mistakes to avoid, how to build something that really has the strong foundation of product market fit. On day 2, we talk about growth hacking with AI and how to find your easiest customers, not the most renowned or the dream customers, but the easiest, because we want to gain that early traction, and that's really the foundation for success. We talked yesterday on day 3 about following the money, business models, scratching those free pilots and what to do instead. I gave you some actionable strategies and heard from so many of you guys that you've really enjoyed the assignments. Many of you shared those assignments. I'm excited that they provided clarity for you and your teams, and that's really what it is about in my work. It's about giving you clarity and confidence, and of course, very actionable playbooks to help you navigate this journey faster and smarter than most other entrepreneurs can, the ones that don't have a mentor. And when I started my journey, I didn't have a mentor who done that, who did exactly what I wanted to do, and that really held me back and didn't save me a number of mistakes. That's what brought me to you and doing this free challenge and doing the program and supporting entrepreneurs in their growth. All right. I got a bunch of questions from you guys about the program. Some folks said that something was off with the card yesterday. They couldn't join yet, and they asked me if the special offer I did yesterday, which was including one bonus session with me, which is worth actually the value of the whole program, is still available, and I offer that to them if they pay today and join the program. So as a courtesy to a broader challenge team, I'm offering that to you as well, so that I'm not playing any favorites here. So if you scan that QR code, you can still join, and you will receive an email from me with the link to schedule time right away, and we'll dive into your challenges, your issues, and I can promise that you will get value for the whole program in that 1 hour that we get to spend, because that's really where you get clarity and exact action steps, and I can guide you through which modules you need to look at first and implement depending on kind of where you are in your journey and where you're stuck, because the main thing is to get you unstuck and get you moving in the right direction. All right. I also received a bunch of questions about the results that folks are seeing. As I mentioned, most folks I have mentored so far, and mentoring are guys, and I'm excited about this group that has at least a number of female founders, it seems, here. And not that anything wrong is with guys, but as a female founder, I am super excited to support all founders. So the results speak for themselves. These are the results from the last cohort. You can see Brandon here was 10 customers by month 3. You see Clement 50 new leads using cold outreach system and closing first customer in month 1, and continuing to evolve the product. Andre was building an MVP when he joined the program, actually redefined the MVP entirely based on the persona work that we did together and proper customer research and discovery. That is the foundation of building something that can succeed and scale later on. And then Elon here implemented new marketing strategy for new persona as well, to unlock crazy growth, right? His new customers are 3 times bigger than the first 5, because really redefined what the value proposition is and how he can reach them. So these are just some examples from the last cohort for you guys. And I am excited to report that the first cohort from this challenge is full, and we have only one spot left in cohort 2. So if you are still thinking, get this link open on your phone. And I'm excited to see someone who will snatch this last spot and welcome you to the family and become your co-founder for a bit as we go through the 12-week program. All right. If you haven't joined the challenge WhatsApp group, here's another QR code in case you guys are just joining today. This is where you can actually, I don't think you can go back, but I will, that's not how WhatsApp works, but I'm going to post today's assignment, and I'm going to post today's replay as well in the group, so you will have access to all the days in that replay as well. And it's just great to put folks in one place. And of course, you're welcome to introduce yourself and connect with other folks and share maybe some challenges, some things that you might need help with. You never know. There might be someone to help you out beyond just me here. So what are we gonna cover today? How to persevere through the startup roller coaster, how to build with an end in mind, and key mistakes to avoid. And guys, please use that chat button to post your questions, because as you've seen yesterday, those of you who stayed, I went through all the questions. To me, that's really the biggest value, because we get to interact a little bit, and you are gaining at least some more clarity in your particular situation. And so I for the questions that I can answer on the go, I'll not hold back. If you have questions about just generally personal journey, resilience, other aspects of building and going through that journey successfully, please ask. All right. So for those of you, again, who are joining today, why I'm talking about this journey is because I've gone through it and survived and thrived at the end. And I turned founder based on my daughter's schooling experience, if you will. And as she started preschool in New York City at the time, I was faced with outdated communication flyers in the backpack, sign-up sheets on the door, and hodgepodge of everything else. And I dropped my big corporate career from Wharton MBA, Boston Consulting Group, climbing corporate ladder, Dell, and really as they call it's called golden hand cliffs when you are sort of fairly senior in corporate world. But I had this urge to go on this wild ride. And had an amazing co-founder and CTO who was a dad in my daughter's class. And I can talk about co-founder and all of those things along the way as well. And raised over $12 million in funding, scaled the company to 5 million users, and lastly sold it just, I would say 13 months ago. I still remember that day. And now I get to support amazing founders building in tech, building education in particular. That's my domain expertise, and really helping them go from 0 to 1, gaining those first critical customers, because that's really where the rubber hits the road, where all the magic happens from there, right? You need to go that 0 to 1 step in order to follow other steps, right? In a computer game, right? And people get super concerned about huge market sizes, huge visions, which is so important. But you have to play at this level, right? See the big vision, but execute something very small today, which is gaining your first customer, your third customer, your fifth customer, and lastly, your 10th customer. If you can't do that, nothing else matters, right? All right. So when I started my company, I thought, I'm not naive. I know that this initial excitement of, yes, let's do it, and maybe getting some, I don't know, press, some positive feedback from potential customers, it's gonna fade off, and eventually the going is gonna get tough, right? And I was expecting there is this valley that I need to persevere, and then the big success, the aha will come along, and sort of I will dance my way out of this. But it turns out that the actual journey looks something very different. The actual journey looks like that, which, yes, has peaks and valleys. I didn't know that they happen on a daily basis, right? Who here can relate? Let me know in the comments. Me. But effectively, what's been happening, the problems change, but they always exist, right? And this is called, there's a concept that's called messy middle, right? And it's basically everything like this, right? Where you are going through, oh my God, it's working. I just signed my biggest customer and it's amazing, to ouch, my key engineer just quit and I don't know how to fix any bugs. And so the product is no longer working, to, hey, let's open up champagne because we signed, I don't know, this big investor. And then this time will not survive because something happened to the payment terms and whatnot, and the customers are not paying, right? So whatever that is, it's happening on a daily basis, right? And rule number one is to persevere. To know that when you're in the valley, there is a peak, and just having that distorted, I talk about distorted reality, when you're already there and the far into the right and at the top, because you know that you will persevere through the valleys, and eventually there is a way through this. And so if you think about the journey, and here laid out three parts to that journey, and I'll talk about my lessons learned in each of these stages, right? There is a start portion of the journey. There is an optimization, when you're really tinkering and iterating on your product, on your value proposition, on your go-to-market strategies, on your maybe how you serve those customers, etc. Right? How do you really build a machine? And then there is an exit part. If you are venture funded, if you have investors, eventually you have to exit, right? So that's why a choice to get investors effectively has a predefined outcome. So you can exit through M&A transaction when you sell the business. You can exit through IPO if you get really big and you want to do it for a really long time, right? IPO is initial public offering. And you can also perhaps stay on with the business, but effectively largely exit from an equity standpoint, right? But those are just the variations of what can happen. Of course, when you are successful. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I think in startup world, we don't use if, we use when, right? Because that helps you build that level of confidence that's required to succeed, right? There is nothing that is maybe or if, right? You are going to succeed. And when that happens, this is what things going to look like. Again, let's go to this distorted reality. All right. So lesson number one is very advanced. Lesson number one is start, right? Because there is 100 reasons not to. And if you feel that you will regret not starting more than failing, then you have to do it. Because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you don't want to wake up and saying, I wish I tried that, right? Like always having that regret inside. And frankly, ignorance is a bliss, right? Now that I've exited that first business, and I'm asking myself, right, whether and when I want to build the next business, a software business, I can't undo it. I don't have that ignorance. So ignorance is a big plus. Use it. Just jump in. Number two, we talked about who you can serve best, right? That's really where you start, because you love to serve them for a long time, because again, it's a journey, right? There are very few companies that can successfully exit within a couple of days. Oh, yes, a couple of years. Most companies, when successful, exit 5 to 10 years, within 5 to 10 years time frame. So you have to enjoy the company, but then you're well positioned to serve. That's a key part as well, because it means that you or your co-founder has a unique insight on the industry and the way things are done. Serve those people, was one of those people in the past, right? Really has ideally a non-consensus and correct view of how things gonna evolve, and that's why you're building something that other people are not, or at least you have a unique spin on what you're building and the problem you're solving as well, right? All things on the left are important, right? A problem that you can find for those people, some big mega trends as to why now. That's really important, right? You and potential investors need to know why now is the time that this problem must be solved. There are many huge problems, right, that haven't been solved, but perhaps there is a reason. Unless there are specific catalysts for those problems to be solved now, think carefully whether that's the right problem to really focus on. And then, of course, having a unique idea, right? There may be not a unique idea, but unique implementation. There might be really, as long as there is differentiation and you solve that problem for that small initial segment 10 times better than other people, then you have a winner. All right, we talked about it yesterday at length, but at the end of the day, just because you can solve someone's problem doesn't mean that there is real money in solving that problem. And it doesn't mean that these people that you're solving a problem for are willing to pay for you to solve that problem. So that monetization is absolutely key. And frankly, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if things going to return to sort of pre-2022 days when funding was much more available and abundant for startups, right? When they could build as a business model just based on the VC infusions, right? And not think about business models. But fundamentally, we should be always building a business, not a startup. And that means that a business needs revenue and it has to have strong unit economics, even if it doesn't need to be profitable in the early days, right? Most investors wouldn't want you to be necessarily profitable in the early days because they want you to get big fast. And in order to get big fast, you need to be investing heavily in your growth. But you need to make sure that when you're solving the problem, there is a bucket of money, there's a pile of gold somewhere that really is aligned to that persona and aligned to solving the problem you're solving. All right, lesson number 4. So we now talk about optimization, right? We talked about this maybe 3 times during the challenge, but it's never enough. And I've been victim to that myself because it's so hard to say no, right? In the early days, you want every customer you can find. You want, this solution, that solution, right? You just want things to move. And that's perfectly fine in the earliest days because you are looking for signal, right? So maybe you have 3 different personas that through your efforts you got into your product, and you don't know yet which one is better, and it's perfectly fine, right? But your job is to iterate and look for signals, right? In the program, we talk about the specific metrics you would use to determine which persona is the right one to double down on, and those metrics are product related metrics. Those are metrics based on their activity beyond that, how they're referring, sharing, etc., how it becomes the habitual product for them, if that's the nature of your product, of course. And then you look at their willingness to pay, they look at their retention, right? So you look at all of these different metrics, combination of product and financial and sort of broader metrics on referrals to determine which one is the persona. And it is ideal that you get this 111 to $1 million before you start adding others, right? Because I much rather, as an angel investor, have a startup that tells me, hey, we've tested these 5 types because they were all early customers, but where really we see strong pull is this customer. And maybe it's a charter schools in California, and there is like so many of them, right? And we're gonna really double down on that. And that's, why we're raising to do XYZ, because look at these 10 customers of this type. This is how amazing this is for them, right? It's just like an example. But it's this gonna make it so much easier to scale. We also talked about business models, right? And not trying, I see this business plans from startups that basically in year 1 have 3 revenue models. That's a big no-no. If none of your models are able to scale to $1 million, this is not a good model, right? So that's why simplicity is key, right? As a small team with limited funding, with limited brain capacity, you need things simple. And you also need things simple not to confuse the market, right? Because many people can't even write a landing page because they're doing so many things that they don't know what to put on that landing page. And as an early stage startup, that's no-go. All right, lesson number 5, customer funding, also called revenue, is always better than investor funding. Well, why it's better? It's what you're supposed to do as a business, right? Because you are proving that you built a solution people are willing to pay for. 2, it's non-dilutive, right? It doesn't take your shares away or doesn't put any financial burden in the interests or etc. If it's loans or other things or revenue financing that you might be doing. And that actually makes it exponentially easier to find investors, because the best way to fundraise is, guess what? When investors come to you. And when you have strong traction, when you have pull from the market, that's what starts to happen, right? You have actual proof in the pudding. You have the actual proof that whatever you've built is working. People like it, people use it, and people continuously pay for it, right? That's really key. Lesson number 6, and I love that lesson. And it took me a while to figure this one out. So if you guys are struggling with those ups and downs on a daily basis, first of all, you're not alone. Everyone does. And I can't tell you how many founder friends I have, and especially in those early days as first-time founders, we were really talking about those tough moments and just jumping on calls and talking about our weeks and days. And it's really incredible, by the way, to surround yourself with founder friends, because they can really relate and understand you. But the key lesson here is your experiments can fail, but not you, right? And that just makes all of this stuff not personal, which is really key, right? Once your ego becomes the center of this, it becomes really, really tough. So remove your ego, put it to the side, give it some sleep or rest, whatever you want, and just think of it as a scientist approach, right? As a scientific experiment, right? You are going through experiments. Most of them will fail, just they do for scientists, right? But at the end of the day, your job is to find truth. Your job is to find signal in this bunch of noise, and then you don't take it personally, right? You don't say, hey, this my company is going to fail, right? It's not the end of the world 3 times a day, and you can really pace yourself to go through this experiment with much colder mind, which makes for better decisions and also creates a almost like a challenge, like a game for you and your co-founders or early employees, right? You're going through those iterations. And then the other thing that's important is you can never really discourage failure in a company, because especially early stage company, because if you are not failing, it means you're not trying and experimenting, right? And that's a big no to really find that truth, find that signal that you need to double down on. Once you find that signal, forget about everything else you're doing. Just drop it, remove it, and put it the same way you sent your ego, right? And you double down on that or triple down on that, right? And then you can leave, let's say, 10, 20% of your time, resources, efforts on further experimentation. But once you find one thing that works, just put all your energy and all your effort in that, because that's really how you build a great business. All right, lesson number 7. And I'll start with a joke for you guys. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's an old one and good one. And the joke says that a farmer goes to a wise man and he says, "Hey, how much do you think should this cow be?" And the wise man says, "Well, it depends. Are you selling the cow or are you buying the cow?" Right? And the joke of the situation is, for your company, it really depends whether you're selling it and you need to sell, or there are people who really want it, who are buying it, right? Because that value can really be drastically different. And drastically, I mean 5x, 10x, right? It could be night and day, right? So the lesson here is you always want to be in a position when they are buying and not when you must sell, right? Because when you must sell, that means that you have fire in the wrong places, and then you can't really negotiate. You can't turn offers, right? And they know it, right? These people, for you, it's a life-changing decision. For those people, it might be a regular Tuesday when they're looking to buy your company, or you are proposing to your company to be sold to them. So here are a few points for you guys to keep in mind. I know many of you are really early on, but I think it's really helpful to put things in perspective so you know when the time is right, not if, when the time is right, you have that broader perspective. So first of all, the best kind of buyers are strategic buyers. And that the reason why is they give you strategic value. So in addition to whatever your financials are, they will pay you for what accretive value you create for their company. Maybe it's additional customer base to which they can sell also their existing products. Maybe they have competitive pressure, they're losing business. Now that's even better, right? Because now they add your innovative product and all of a sudden 1 + 1 = 5, right? So whatever that strategic buyer needs, typically it's either technology or customer base or both. That's really strategic value. Other thing, and we talked about business models yesterday, the reason why SaaS is such a beautiful business model is because the multiples of revenue, if you're still a high growth company by the time you're selling, multiples of revenue for SaaS are 2 to 5 times higher than any other streams, commerce, advertising, you name it, right? Because they are considered high quality, they're predictive, they're recurring, and all of that good stuff. Every time you raise, folks in education, especially on K-12 side, pay attention. Every time you raise, you have fewer exit options. Because in education, there are not that many massive buyers who can afford to buy really big companies. And in fact, there are so many companies that went up in flames and didn't return any money to their investors or founders, even when sold, because they raised too much money. They raised too much money, and the only appropriate path to actually make some returns was IPO, and they got too many competitive pressures, etc. They just didn't make it, right? So they were sold as pennies on the dollar, and that's not a place you want to be. For financial buyers, right? If you're thinking about when is the right time to exit, when my pool of options gets broader, typically for financial buyers or private equity funds buying companies, that occurs when you have over $10 million in revenue. And there is also Rule of 40, which if someone is interested, you can put it in the question and I'll answer it. If not, just remember Rule of 40 and look it up later when you're ready. And then competitive process, right? You want to have multiple parties to buy. And that means that as an early stage founder, it's important to be out and about, meeting people, talking to competitors, even that are bigger, You never know where this leads, right? You just have to be friendly. You have to be, obviously not meeting them and sharing every secret about your magic process, but you have to be friendly. You can come up and introduce yourself. You can, most people are very receptive to that. I've only had one founder who almost wanted to sue us, I guess, in a competitive process. But other than that, people are generally much friendlier, especially in education. Then that it tends to attract nicer people. So just keep that in mind. A great way to start building those relationships, of course, is to build different panels, because you build a relationship with your other panelists, and attending industry conferences and things like that. All right, lesson number 8. Lesson number 8 is over 50% of M&A transactions fail, right? And I get founders that I mentor one-on-one who are a little bit further along, and they would be so excited running to our mentoring session and saying, hey, I got this email from this huge private equity firm, and they're so interested, right? They already sent me 3 emails, and not to be the bearer of bad news, but it means absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk to them or keep in touch or, be just not nice and build that relationship. But it also means that you should never drop what you're doing. And the likelihood of that going somewhere is very small, especially in the early days. What these people are doing is they're doing their job, right? They're reaching out because you need to be in their CRM, and they want to track you over time, right? And even when you're later stage, and I don't know if you guys follow me on LinkedIn, but I some time ago shared this post about my failed M&A experience along the way. That was a very, very painful lesson, and something that now, in fact, I'm guiding a number of entrepreneurs through that M&A process so they know better. And the only way to have protection through M&A, by the way, also through fundraising process, that is to build a thriving business, right? You should never assume that a deal closes until it does, until the money is in the bank. Right? We believe what people do, not what people say, right? And the reason why these M&A deals can fail might have nothing to do with you or your business, right? Maybe they couldn't secure capital to finance the deal. Maybe the market shifted, economic uncertainty, something related to interest rates or wars or whatever, right? Nothing to do with you particularly, but the wind of change. They looked at the performance of the business that they want to roll you with, and that performance wasn't there, right? So there's a gazillion issues that could be happening on their side, have nothing to do with you, that even if they have the real intention to buy the business, it would not go through, right? So the only protection is to continue building your business like nothing else happen. And lesson number 9, the final lesson, and I love this quote, and I hope you guys take it to heart. It is not the journey, nor the destination, but who you become on the journey to the destination, right? Think about it. The main asset is who you become, because yes, there is a lot of that you have to persevere, and that makes you so much stronger and better for it, right? And again, surround yourself with people who have done what you want to do. That's gonna help you get to the journey faster, and perhaps with less scars and more higher probability of success, right? Because there are many well-meaning people who will give you advice, including close relatives, including neighbors, including some people who have no clue what you're trying to do or never done it. But the support and advice from those who've done what you want to do is really critical in helping you go through that journey. And that also means that if you haven't done this, a really cool exercise for you guys might be to document your why, right? So in your moment of distress, if you don't know what to do anymore, right? If you're just really frustrated and ready to quit, ideally you have one of those people to call up, right? Who've done what you want to do and really talk through that, or have your co-founder with you. But really, I here documented my why for me, and my why was really this personal challenge. You can call it masochistic, but that's the truth. I wanted the ultimate test of what I can do. If you strip away my titles and fancy MBA and whatnot, am I good enough to build something from nothing? Right. And that was something that mattered to me. I wanted to become a role model for my daughter and show that other outsiders can do everything if they put their mind to it. And lastly, I was solving my own problems, something I had high conviction in because I experienced it myself. And I knew that the reason why I was able to go far in my life, even before starting the company, was that I had access to great engagement from my parents and education. And so that was my why, and each of you have your why as well. I also didn't pursue 3 business ideas because I wasn't ready. I didn't have my green card, which, there are 100 ways around it, but I saw it as a constraint and limiting belief, and I didn't do it. I felt like I needed more saving, more. But the reality is that there was this 4-word F word, 4-letter F word, and that means fear. I chickened out. I felt there are too many competitors. It was hard to find a co-founder. I can't build tech, right? No. So many issues, but I was afraid. And so finally, when I found the problem and I said, this is it, I'm jumping with 2 feet and I will make it happen, because failure is not an option. Failure of the business, many experiments failed, but the business will succeed. All right. And the reason why starting and jumping in is so important, because the only way to learn is really to be in market, right? When you are in market, you're talking to the right people, you're in tune with what's happening in the industry, with you're talking to other players, you're going to conference, you're reading content that's relevant, right? It's really hard to just be researcher and consume it without really being in market and having real interactions. And so when you are in market, then you can pivot. You can change things just sometimes a little bit, sometimes quite drastically. In earliest days of ClassTag, I don't think I've mentioned to you guys, we built a product that helped parents actually start their communities online, and then they can add other parents and teachers. And that was our initial hypothesis, that parents really want to be engaged, and so they will start these communities. Turned out to be absolutely false hypothesis, because the moment we built something for parents, there were absolute crickets, even though I talked to 100 parents, because I made mistake number 1 that I talked about in day 1, which was believe what people do, not what they say, right? I had in my early discovery to ask parents to give me their teachers' emails, or give the commitment of some shape or form that's appropriate, that they will use this in their schools, right? And so I didn't do that. And so we pivoted to teacher-led communities. And so thankfully that was successful, and that allowed us to start scaling from there. But I learned it because I tried, and I and found that it's not working, right? Because I was in market, I was interacting with actual users, I was observing their behaviors. And you have to avoid not all mistakes, right? And I love this Jeff Bezos kind of duality of problems. He talks about sort of 2-way, or sort of the door like this, a revolving door, and then there is a door basically that gets shut, and that's the end of it, right? So you just have to not make mistakes in those that are end point mistakes, and apply proven playbooks, get critical and timely guidance, and believe you can do it, and ideally live in that future when you already did it. You're just feeling the dots. You're looking backward and saying, okay, so now that I know it succeeded, what were the steps I took to get? I know it might sound a little crazy, but that confidence is going to serve you to attract your early customers, to attract your early employees, to attract your early investors, if that's your path, to get your partners in go-to-market and whomever else, press, whomever, right? People feed off that confidence. So I wish you that, right? Connect the dots backwards. You are already there. Trust me. All right. So, so if you're just getting started, as they say, right, the famous quote goes, the best time to plant the tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. If you want investors and customers to invest in you, you need to invest in yourself first. And that's why I created a program to help you guys gain your early traction, gain your first 10 paying customers with proven playbooks and guidance and push and motivation and whatever you need as a founder to really persevere and succeed with clarity and confidence. So again, for those of you guys who haven't joined the program yet, it's a 12-week personalized small group coaching. I specifically keep the groups very small so we really can get to know the business, or I can get to know the business and really walk through every barrier to unlock. And then there are 12 modules of step-by-step content, very specific things to do, no fluff whatsoever. I hope you see that there is no fluff in what I'm sharing, and I don't hold back. So if I see problems, I say what those things are so that you can grow in the fastest and smartest way possible to build the kind of companies that you want to build and build the kind of life you want to build for yourself. Again, these are the results from the folks. I will not spend a lot of time on this, so I can go back to your Q&A and the assignment for today. But think about how would you feel if you're able to achieve these results, right? If you're able to get your first customer, like we started today from Tara, you're able to get your first 3 customers, 5 customers, 10 customers. How much do they are they worth to you, right? As the biggest investor in your business, because you are investing the most valuable resource we all have as humans, your time, right? And that's why making sure that you get that kind of traction is really critical for your sanity, and so that you can tell everyone you're building something that the market needs and willing to pay for, and really get your on your way going. And that's really what will drive and impact your team, your family, knowing that you made it happen. All right, so again, sharing this link, and if you guys have more questions about the program, happy to come back to that, but I'll skip over the modules. So this is months 1. Again, this is self-paced content, but the live sessions are weekly. So there is really in-depth in a lot of areas we went through, plus the bonus on fundraising, as well as really financial planning, which is absolutely key for success. So this is outcomes that we typically see in months 1, really preparing the foundation. Months 2 is all about growth, cold email sequences, founder-led sales playbook, sales objections handling, demo, and AI prompting for rapid growth. Because you can do extraordinary things today that I wish I could do back in 2015 when I was starting my business. And now it's a fantastic time to be a founder, and you need to use it because others do, and you need to stay ahead of that. All right. And then lastly, this is what the last 4 modules are: business model selection, pricing, methodology, and go to market. Again, many founders have a mismatch, right? They're selling something for cheap, and then they are building towards a direct sales model. That's just a big no-no, because it's never going to scale. and then fundraising playbook and financial planning as well. And so typically folks close 3 more customers in month 3. And as I mentioned, first cohort is full. We have only 1 spot left in cohort 2. I would not do more than 2 cohorts. It's too much for me. So if you have any questions about the program, feel free to post them. Again, the value is exceptional, right? It's $6,000 in value if you just take all the value created here and what I would charge in my separate scenarios, but this is really what you have for $1,497. So not even $1,500. All right. So how we go through the actual journey from awesome, let's do this, through persevering through this all, right? And like I said, right, we have our long-term view and we already live in that view and we connect the dots backwards, right? And so the tool that I want to share with you guys is called OKRs, Objectives and Key Results. And what is really cool about this tool is that it actually works really well for both company goals, because it can be collaborative methodology for goal setting and collaboration. And it allows you to track progress, create alignment, encourage engagement, and measurable results from the whole team. But you can also do it as a small team, just getting started, maybe just you or you and your co-founder. It's a great exercise to go through. And in fact, when I just started working with founders, I have a template that I'm sharing with you guys today. So if you fill it out, you'll be ready to jump into the program right away. And that template looks like this, right? We start from, I like the 3-year time frame. If you can look beyond 3 years, kudos to you, right? For me, I think 3 years is long enough. And then work backwards, right? What are the key objectives and the key results, right? Like live in that moment, feel that moment where you are in the future and sort of work your way backwards, right? And so when I work with folks on the 12-week program, so we are really focused on clarifying which are the which are the key objectives that they need to achieve, and then specifically the 90-day key results, right? And one of the things I am finding is folks often show up with 4 to 5 key objectives when really only 2 or 3 at most matter, right? And that really removes a lot of noise from the system. And so that's one of the points of strategy, is to know not only what to do, but also what not to do, right? And that's why this goal setting is so important, because it provides clarity on things that really, really rise to the top, and ensuring that not you're going through your checklist or task list of 50 things to do in a day. You're really checking off those most critical and most urgent things that help you get to your outcomes. All right. So that's pretty much it. With that, I'm gonna go. Oh, we have so many questions. All right. Let's see. Is that just the middle of the whole journey? It's just the middle and the whole journey. I would say it is just the middle. The middle is just fairly long. And there are always some issues and problems, but I think because you become a different person on the journey to the destination, your reaction, right? As we say, we can't worry about other circumstances or things. We can only worry about our reaction, right? And I think, Mona, the biggest thing that changes is our reaction, and really our understanding of focusing on what we can control, right? And that's why when you're raising, for example, or just going through M&A or some major things that you're praying, oh, if this thing happens, then my whole business is gonna thrive. What if it doesn't, right? What is your plan B and C? And that's really what it takes. you have to have not all the letters of alphabet, but a few down the list, because things happen and you need to be ready. What strategies would you recommend for founders to start generating customer revenue on direct-to-consumer model without upfront investment? How do you recommend growing the email list? Cool. What a great question on direct-to-consumer model without upfront investment. That's a great question. It could be, again, I need to know the nature, but let's say there are some folks that are very successful with paid newsletters. Maybe you, before you jump into SaaS, you launch your paid newsletter, right? Or maybe you launch your, first you build your audience and then you launch a paid newsletter into that audience, for example, right? Or it could be that you create something of value, right, for folks to opt in to get, but fundamentally you need to get that audience first, either by hand or through social media or through, again, referrals in connections. Do you review the best times of years to find buyers overselling to them to past years at tech, trying to more strategic the way we roll our yeah, this is a fantastic question, and I think for folks that are not from educational backgrounds and haven't sold to education before, that's a big wake-up call. And in fact, one of the things that took me a couple of cycles to realize is that it's such a seasonal business, right? And that's both true for teachers' behavior, right? That are typically, again, depending on the tool, the exact timelines change. But typically you have your initial sort of tool evaluation adoption by teachers in the back to school timeframe, and then secondary opportunity in January. If you're talking about paid products for schools and districts, again, those timelines look a little different for schools and districts, but they are aligned to July 1 timeline. And in the program, we go into details for specific circumstances in your go-to-market. Do you offer any payment plans for those interested in the program? Yes, JT, reach out to me. If the payment plan that shows up in the program doesn't work, we can offer payment plans as well. So just send me a WhatsApp message. Great tips. I struggle a bit with surround yourself with people who have done what you want to do, because they're either always busy and won't benefit from me. What's the best way to ask someone time like a mentor and also provide for them, even though you are super early on? That's a great question, Anna. I think perhaps that's why I do what I do, because that's a key thing to get that kind of mentorship, right? Other folks, I think you can learn to be mentored by someone. Doesn't mean that you physically need to talk to them, right? You can follow them. You can learn from things that they're sharing now. A lot of folks are very open on social media and sharing a lot of tips and ideas that way. You can also, again, not necessarily something I would recommend, but you can go and just say, hey, I'm going to work for free sometime. And, you know, if you have a particular skill to contribute, that can be an exchange. But typically you would either know them or somehow have a very close affinity with them, right? So maybe you're building exactly what they wish they built, or maybe they come from the same town somewhere out there that you're coming from, right? You have to have very strong personal connection of some shape or form. Also, plus one, how do you recommend growing the email list? I just moved to Substack and hope that would help. Also need to grow my product wait list prior to the MVP release. Yeah, building in public, doing all the things we talked about for finding customers. The same things would apply to your email list, right? If you're just building an email list, just go and add people every time you talk to someone, add them to the email list, and that will start growing. And then, of course, everyone has this thing in their hands, and use it, and just If I was starting a company now, I would definitely start it around a tech company. I mean, I started a number, but I would definitely figure out how to leverage my personal brand because people want to buy from people, not companies. All right. I want to keep going, but I'm running out of savings. I'm really struggling with whether or not to go into more depth so I can stay focused on the startup or divide my focus and try to bring in some money as a freelancer while wait for things to take off. Tara, this is a tough one. And of course, everyone's situation is personal. I wouldn't, take responsibility of advising. One thing I would say is I've been bootstrapping with a paycheck for 3 years in my earliest company cycles because I knew that with the money that I was making for my time, I could hire a couple of folks, a couple of contractors that were significantly cheaper. And so that still created saving for me. So that was sort of extending my runway and allowing the company to see the light of day. So think about sort of what is that freelance monetization that you can do or other monetization you can do and just do what is the most sensible thing to do. And it doesn't mean maybe that your company has to be put on pause. Maybe there are other cheaper people you can find all over the world that can take on some of the things you are doing currently. If anyone is selling a product targeted at vocational trade schools, feel free to reach out to me. We may be able to partner and exchange ideas. Fantastic. Ellie, why don't you send me a message? I actually have a great founder in that space. I'm happy to share your company. They are bigger and potentially can be interested in that. So please reach out to me on WhatsApp or LinkedIn with some information and summary. Great ideas about following mentors and volunteers. Thank you. I have to leave now. Blah, 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 blah. It's fantastic. And we're right at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, guys. It's been a real joy to have you here. And I'm excited to welcome those who joined. I see notifications coming. I'll check them later. But have a fantastic weekend, and I wish you all clarity and confidence that you need to be successful. And please keep in touch with me on LinkedIn and engage there as well. All the best, guys.